Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brand MMA podcast, episode 38. I'm your host, BigSteve. We're doing the big PFL 10 card. Kayla Harrison, Clarissa Pacheco, number 3. Very riveting main event. But other than that, it's pretty good card actually. Six title fights or championship fights, whatever you want to call it. Makes for interesting potential live betting. Who can last the 5 rounds? Some fighters have never gone 5 rounds before. And in terms of quality, not pretty good for PFL. So yeah, hopefully we can find some good spots. Just a quick little overview. Last week for LFA, just had a play on Peralta fading Pereira's sister. No tape on Pereira in MMA, obviously. Just watched the kickboxing fights. Obviously doesn't hit as hard as her brother, and Peralta was live to clinch consistently, so got away with that one. Big juicy odds, and hit the girl the first fight of the night. One girl was 1-0, the other girl was making a debut 0-0, but a massive underdog again. I watched a couple of fights, and I was like, this girl is just favored because she's good looking, and she ended up winning in 10 seconds. So clean sweep on LFA dogs, made about $1,000. And then on the UFC, reduced my size on Silva. I know me and Scrap were talking about Silva. Taped it again, reduced it to half a unit just because I thought she would give up at least one takedown early while the blader was fresh, which happened. So I was a bit sweaty. I don't want to force it. Left the whole unit on Brady. All right. Pretty much went exactly as I thought. Got dropped straight away. I was very bad his defense. But then one rounds 2 and 3, even round 1 after he got dropped, he rided out on top. But every single judge gave Fernie the round. Ultimately, I let it ride due to even though I saw him getting dropped, even though I saw the weaknesses. Ultimately, I thought he was always going to beat Garcia, and he was always going to have more cardio in that 3rd round. I just liked his grittiness, and he's relentless with the takedowns. So that was my biggest play, one of my favorite plays on the podcast as well. Both those bets kind of felt a little bit risky, but we stuck with them. I hit my live. I cashed out my pre-bet, which was annoying, but I hit her as soon as the round started. So I hit that at my live. Lost my Lewis KO. Other than that, that's pretty much all I had. I tried betting Salikov in round 2 right before he dropped old mate Fiala, which didn't work out. And then I ended up betting Sherman. So unfortunately, I lost a quarter unit on Sherman, finished on $800. So almost a 2-unit day. Can't complain. There was barely any bets on UFC. It was a tough card for betting. So yeah, that's the review. We'll move on. When I do a podcast with Scrap, I'll get him to do his review. But let's get started. Let's go. These first 2 fights, Baggio Ali Walsh versus Tom Greaser. Baggio is actually what's his name, Muhammad Ali's grandson, which is why his odds are so good and why he has somewhat hype, even though this is an amateur fight, so 3x3 rounds. No tape on him. He lost by a rear naked choke. He used to be a footballer. I'm inclined to believe that he's not going to be that good. He's doing MMA. Just as a sport in general, he doesn't have a specialty in jiu-jitsu or boxing. His brother is actually a boxer, the other grandson. Well, he chose NFL, and he was actually retired from NFL, and then he was training some UFC fighters, so he just decided to try MMA. The other guy, Tom, there is a fight on him, and he's getting wrestle left by some guy for 3 rounds with a good credential background. I actually thought that was him, and I was going to play him as an underdog. I thought he's going to wrestle left Ali for 3 rounds. And then I realized Tom was the one getting wrestled, so I'm like, okay, I can't play him. He just got wrestled left. He's obviously not a good grappler. Yeah, too many questions. There's no tape, but I assume they want Ali to win. It's just, who knows. Dakota Decheva and Catherine Jennings, I think. Dakota's obviously a beast, right? She's got good hype behind her. There is a bit, I know people saying there's no tape on Catherine Jennings. There is a few fights, actually. She trains out of AKA Thailand. seems to be a good kickboxer, but her 2 professional fights, she's winning on the ground. She took her debut, he took her down and ground and pounded her in mount. And then Fasiang Singa, actually that's not it. There's a fight that's not even on Tapology because it was custom rules Muay Thai fight in like a Muay Thai ring. And she just took her down and armbarred her, and she's got another win by rear naked choke. So she's obviously got good jiu-jitsu game. She seems good enough for me not to fade her at, or not to put the Cheva in parlays and stuff like other people do. So yeah, pass fight for me. Catherine seems decent. She's not like a can from what I can tell. She could be, but she's fighting low-level women. So let's not waste too much time. Let's move on. Just address my main tattoo and dreams. What's going on, mate? Thanks for joining us. Hopefully a few more people jump in. We can get the chat's been popping off recently, which is good. Magomed Karimov versus Gleison TBell. Now there's a bit of value on TBell in my opinion. If you're feeling brave, he's got legendary takedown defense. He exited the UFC at about 91% takedown defense. That's including fighting Khabib for 3 rounds, which everyone brings up all the time. He was looking a bit fragile as he got cut, and obviously now he's gone to PFL, and he's all of a sudden this mammoth that's durable and huge, and he's on all the sauce now. He looks rejuvenated, and he pretty much gives everyone he fights a tough fight. All right, so submitted Will Brooks outside the UFC, lost a decision to Joseph Farino, won a robbery against Rory McDonald, ran through Mika Terrell, and lost. Some people say a robbery against Al Salawi, but he's keeping it competitive. These are good fighters. Some of these fighters could be in the UFC potentially. Rory was, and he's just keeping it competitive. He's hard to deal with. He's a bit slow. He's a southpaw. He's a powerhouse. He's hard to take down and hard to hold down still. If he does get taken down, Rory McDonald took him down a couple of times just briefly and got on his back, but he just pops up straight away. Right. I think Magomed Karimov is solid. He does slow down a bit. He's a bit of a backpacker. He gets you back, gets you down, gets on your back, sits in your guard, doesn't advance much. And he definitely slows down. If it wasn't for the Delano Taylor fight and obviously his Ray Cooper fight where he hurt both guys, he had Ray Cooper on skates and he knocked out Delano Taylor in round 2, I would probably definitely be playing TBell. I would see it like a close striking fight, and maybe TBell getting his own takedowns, a bit of clinch time, cage time, making it a sweaty decision. But I think Magomed he's got the speed advantage. He's going to throw. Like I said, there's value on Gleison, but I just like for example in the Jose Farino fight, he didn't get any Zaffarino didn't get any takedowns, and TBell actually took him down, and he still lost the 29-28 because Zaffarino just outstruck him for 2 rounds. So I think Magomed, even if he can't get takedowns, he can just do that here, and because Gleison doesn't push the pace, Magomed can just strike or clinch him up against the cage a bit. So it's a hard fight. It's hard to bank TBell because I think his best path is a split decision win, but it's a dog or pass either way. All right, on to the next one. Just address some comments. Old mate Pepe Silva, how are you, mate? The man faded El Impero too. That was nice. It was a great play. A little bit sweaty. I think it was. She was on the way to winning the 3rd round and then got dropped. Luckily. Gelson Secret Juice TBell. I don't think it's a secret, man. I think we all know what he's on. Haven't found anything I like on PFL. We'll get to that, mate. We'll get to that. Alrighty, next fight. Natan Schultz, Jeremy Stevens. I don't want to talk too much about this one either. This is the one fight that I haven't taped. Obviously, I can't trust Schultz at $1.25. He's not really a trustworthy favorite. He lost similar odds to the Polish Marcin Held, which is mostly a jiu-jitsu fighter. He lost a 3-round striking fight to Held. Right. He goes to splits all the time. Alex Martinez. Right. OAM split. Just comes forward. He's like the old school Gaethje. He doesn't have any defense. He just trusts his shin too much. And Jeremy Stevens, if you do that to him, he's live to bomb you. Jeremy Stevens finally won a fight against Miles Price. He actually did okay against Clay Collard. I know Clay Collard styled on him, but if it was anyone else other than Clay Collard that can't eat those kind of shots, maybe he knocks him out. He was actually landing big bombs on Collard, and I think that's why he got so gassed. But he got gassed in the Miles Price fight as well, and that's why I went to split decision. I just think if Schulte doesn't run through him, or if Stevens doesn't knock him out, he's just going to get gassed from Schulte's constant pressure. And the only thing I might take this just to look into is the under. I think Stevens is a bit washed. He's not what he used to be. He's missing weight, almost missing weight. Well, he did miss weight. Let me just check. No, he didn't miss weight, but he almost missed weight against Clay Collard. So yeah, it's a bit of a shit show fight. The odds are crazy. Let's move on. Shayman Moraes versus Marlon Moraes. This one is a bit interesting. So Moraes is an underdog. Marlon Moraes, which I understand, right, is coming off a four fight losing streak, 4-fight knockout streak as well, getting knocked out by Merab of all people. Completely understandable, but this is a big step down for him. He's fighting Shayman, who already knocked out, obviously back in his prime. Shayman very slow, very plodding. What Shayman does, this is a big step down, and it's a big step up. Maybe not a big step up, but a decent step up for Shayman, right? He's fighting fighters like Jesse Stern, Lazar Stoyadinovic, right? He's a bad fighter. Boston Salmon, right? Even Lance Palmer, who's, I don't know if he's retired, but he's just well past his prime. Right, he's chinny as well himself. He's slow. He's very slow, plodding. He's a Muay Thai fighter, and he fights like that, like a traditional Muay Thai fighter. If you're aware, Muay Thai fighters, they always start the first round slow, and obviously for the betting, so the locals can put their bets in, and then rounds 2 and 3, that's when they start fighting, and that's what Marlon does too, right? He's always, like in the Jesse Stern fight, he got taken down easy. He lost the round 1. He got taken down in round 2 as well. I got knocked out by Brendan Locklane. Got knocked out by Andrew Feely in the first round. Right, Lazar Stoyadinovic cracked him. He wrestled Boston Simon. Right, he's very lackadaisical, and he's very chinny. He's very hittable. Right, and now I know Marlon is a bit over the hill, and he's chinny himself, and he usually has one round of gas, but he's moving up to featherweight, and he's in PFL, which means he's most likely back on all the juices. Right, so he came out of retirement for a reason. So he's like, damn, if I can go back to PFL, maybe this is it. I'm going to keep fighting. So he's currently an underdog, $2.20. And the big difference here is Marlon can crack, and he's fast. So if Shayman's coming out doing his thing and not throwing, letting Marlon crack him, it's one thing to get cracked by Lazar Stoyadinovic and then, Stern and the other fighters. Getting cracked by round 1 Marlon is a different story, right? He was cracking Sandhagen. He'd almost knocked out Merab, closest person to beat Merab recently. He was, maybe 1 or 2 punches away from finishing. It was a beautiful counter as well. So if Shayman throws one of his slow hooks, he can knock him out. It's a bit of a risky one. Obviously, how much do you want to trust 34-year-old Marlon coming off 4 knockout losses? He can get knocked out as well. Shayman hits quite hard, and as the fight goes on, he gets really good at countering. But yeah, it's a dog or pass for me, man. I think if he's going to beat anyone, it's going to be the current Shayman Moraes in round 1. So I don't think I'm going to get any props because this is it's the first. It's still in the prelims. But yeah, I mean, I'm very tempted by Marlon. I haven't played it yet. It just seems like a big step down, and a chance for him to get around 1K like the old days. Alrighty. And my computer's slow today. Can our boy Marlon finally get on EPO now? Potentially, man. Potentially. Also, Marlon has good wrestling. Right, he was throwing around Rob Font. He has good guillotine. Shayman has good wrestling too. He wrestled Simon and Stern. He will go for it when he needs to, but he might put himself in a guillotine potentially. Alrighty. Omari Akhmedov, Robbie Wilkinson. So first fight of the main card, first title fight. We got Omari Akhmedov, Rob Wilkinson. Interesting fight. I think this is a bit of a step up for Rob. I played him in his debut, obviously against Soto, who I really don't rate. He's a career welterweight. I didn't play him against Victor Pesta because he was juiced, and obviously against Delan Monte, but Delan Monte had a really good under 1.5 line, which I hammered. It was a pick 'em. Right, Monte Chinny, aggressive. Right, if he was going to win, it was going to be round 1 KO. So that was a beautiful play. Essentially, Rob Wilkinson used to run through all his opponents in the regionals, take them down, use his jiu-jitsu. After losing to Adesanya and Baharizada in UFC, he just took a few years off, did a lot of kickboxing, boxing fights, and decided to come back in at lightweight, a bit more filled frame, if you want to use that phrase, and a lot more comfortable in the stand-up. Now he's running through everyone with his strikes. Right, and I think he is well-rounded because of that, and I think he has a good chin as well. Right, I've seen the punishment he took from Baharizada. He mostly just got knocked out because he was just done. He was gassed, couldn't take the punishment anymore. But we've seen Delan Monte. He cracked him a few times and he didn't even drop, and he usually just throws back. As soon as he gets cracked, he throws back. But the other thing is we haven't, he gassed in both of his round 2 fights in the UFC. And ever since taking the time off, he's come back, and he hasn't really gone out of round 2 other than the 40 seconds in Bruce Soto fight, and he was kind of blowing heavy there. But again, Soto not someone to punish him, right? Like I said, Soto welterweight, no power whatsoever. He's just a decision machine with decent jiu-jitsu. Now he's fighting a Marek Meadow who hits like a truck. He's like a caveman. He's usually durable. The Jordan Young KO, rest in peace, Jordan Young. That was mostly, just gas. Cardio gas, and he was letting his way with Jordan Young, throwing him around. Almost got a rear naked choke, almost got an arm triangle, his calf kicking him. Knocked out Victor Pesta, probably more impressive than Wilkinson. Got dropped by Teodoros with a jab, still came back, and beating Josh Silveira over 3 rounds. He used to be heavyweight. That was impressive. Obviously Silveira made a bit of a mistake not pushing the pace, but that's the problem with Omari Akhmedov, right? Everyone in the UFC, they try to pressure him. He throws his big overhand hooks. He cracks him a couple of times, and they feel his power, and they just back off. The reason I can't play this fight, I feel like, I don't know how Wilkinson's going to come out. Is he going to be patient because it's a 5-rounder? He's got the tools. He's got the height. He's got the jab, the straight punches, the knees to keep this technical and do good. He seems to be good at getting up as well. Like I said, off his back. If Omari decides to wrestle, I think the calf kick will be there for Omari. If he comes out aggressive, I think he could potentially run through Omari. He does seem to have power, even though Omari is durable. But if he doesn't get Omari out, what's his cardio going to look like at around 1? It's just a bit of a volatile fight. I thought about doing both. I thought about playing Wilkinson at -200. I think he can do what he needs to do to just stay calm and patient. But if he stays calm and patient, I think Omari's going to leg kick him. It's just going to be like the Silveira fight. So yeah, it's a dog or pass for me at the moment. This is a beautiful live betting fight personally, right? 5 rounds for Omari. He can barely make it to round 3 in a lot of his fights. So this could be, just wait and see how they come out. Omari can potentially get round 1, round 2 even, depending how Wilkinson fights. And then obviously on Bet365, hopefully Bet365 gives me live betting because they didn't give it to me on the last Bellator fight, which is Bellator card, which is crazy, 2 title fights. Yet I had it for the France card that I woke up for 6 a.m., like a fight night card with a bunch of jobbers. So hopefully live betting, otherwise I'll have minimum bets. But this is a good one for that. And it's on the main card, so we should be getting it. But yeah, the dog pass for me is just a lot of questions in this fight. Okay. Delano Taylor, Sadibu C. This was a popular one. A few people I know on Sadibu C. I get it. I can see the avenue behind it. Right. I think finally a guy that's not really going to grapple Sadibu C. Obviously Delano Taylor is a decent brown belt. He did grapple a lot on the regional scenes, but as you see a lot more recently in PFL, he's just striking. And if you're going to strike against Sadibu C, I think he's got those measurables. Only 3 inches of reach against Taylor, but he's very good at fighting long. Sadibu C, he's got a good jab, good body kick. And more often than not, if you stay on the outside, he's going to win that battle. Delano Taylor, when he doesn't get a knockout, he goes to very close decisions, right? He's Luis Gonzalez, pardon me, not him. Marcus Edwards, right? He had a 5-round title fight against him in Titan FC. Went to split. I've seen him get wobbled multiple times in that fight. Mark Martin, I tried to fade him there in Challenger Series, lost. I thought Martin was doing good until he ate that big shot to the eye where his eye socket fell out. Crazy injury. He won a split against João Zaffarino. I mean, nothing really happened other than him getting taken down a couple of times. I think he was lucky to win a robbery there. Got knocked out by Magomed Kerimov, which you don't see from Magomed. Obviously, he almost got Cooper out of there. It's a bit concerning, and obviously he knocked out Rory McDonald. But if he didn't knock out Rory McDonald, I guarantee you we're going to see another close split decision fight. So he feints a lot. He has his hands low. He stays on the outside, and he looks to counter with his big overhands and leg kicks, etc., etc. It's just I don't know how's he going to counter Sadabusigo, and Sadabusigo is always going to stay on the outside and look to body kick him and jab him. Right? I don't know if the counter's going to be there. I think C's got the better kickboxing background, a lot more experience. But then on the other side, I do think Delano has the better cardio, and you see C blowing a lot of the time out of his mouth. But that's a lot of the time there's all his opponents putting a lot of pressure on him, and there's a lot of grappling happening in the fights as well. So Delano Taylor also, that's not going to push the pace. He's going to just wait and look to have a 5-round close striking battle. Sadabusi is going to accept that and potentially just outpoint him to a decision. I also have thoughts that maybe Delano Taylor might be a bit chinny, right? Obviously, Roman Faraldo knocked him out, which you can't find. It was only 2 years ago. We see him wobbled in that fight. The Edwards fight, knocked out by Magomed Kerimov. It's either that or his hands are very low. So, yeah, it's an interesting fight. I favor C. It's just how much value is there in this line at $1.60. I was going to play it, but it's just it feels forced to me. It feels forced. Reminds me a bit of the Choi Truzano fight. I thought I didn't want to overthink it. Quote marks. I thought Choi is faster, more volume, more power, but I knew he's got bad defense, and Truzano's in his hometown. Forced it anyway and paid the price. I feel like I do that with C here. It's going to be, I might win, but it's going to be a lot more sweaty, right? And a lot of people saying this is a striking fight, which might suit C. I think C looks a lot better when people try to grapple him, if that makes any sense, because they just hold him against the cage and do no damage, and then he does all the damage in the middle of the cage. Right? Obviously, these days judges they don't care about cage humping anymore. Whereas if this is going to be a strike for strike, with no grappling whatsoever, it's going to be a lot more closer. And Delano Taylor has quite eye-catching shots himself. He's got one-punch KO power. We've seen it. So yeah, it's quite a close fight in my opinion. Another one, maybe Sadabusi just looks hindsight even more value than $1.60. If he just keeps spamming the body kicks, jabs. But Delano Taylor's young, man. He's young. He's 25. He's been fighting a lot. His debut was 2019, and he's acquired a 10-2 record, and he's fought who's who, Rory McDonald, Magomed, Zaffarino, title fights in Titan FC. So yeah, it's a 5-round title fight. I guess you can see where it's going to go again, and then just live bet it. Obviously, try to time a robbery of some sort. The bookies think it's 2-1, 3-1, 3-0, and then you get a split decision. Try a bit of that, but yeah, I don't want to force this pre-bet. Unless maybe play Sadabusi decision or something like that. Sucks to have missed the line flip on Sadabu. Yeah, apparently while I was sleeping yesterday, Sadabusi went to $2.44, and then when I woke up, he was a massive favorite again, so someone smashed it on one of my bookies. So every time I take a nap, something bad happens. So there you go. Don't nap, kids. All right. Next title fight, we've got Stevie Ray, OAM. Decent fight. I mean, a couple of decent guys that could potentially still be in the UFC. I can't believe Stevie Ray's only 32. He's actually a year younger than OAM. Outrageous line. I get that OAM, might be better in a lot of aspects. Maybe more power behind his shots, more technical, better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling. But yeah, Stevie Ray's going to fight. Stevie Ray's going to fight for your money. He's a southpaw. Both guys southpaw. He's got decent boxing, decent jiu-jitsu. I don't think he's going to get any of his wrestling off. OAM has elite takedown defense. We've seen it against Sarukian, Gilbert Burns, right, over and over again. He doesn't really put much stamps on his rounds at OAM. He does have very good left hand from southpaw stance, very good body kick. He's very technical early. Like I said, he doesn't put himself in much risk. Still did get dropped by Daryl Horcher, but then just implemented his ground game and just ran through him. Beat Raush Manfio, by unanimous, which is rare. Raush Manfio's been weaseling split decisions against everyone, so he has good IQ. He knows what he needs to do. But yeah, just Stevie Ray's up for it, man. I think he might have better cardio than OAM. If he's just in there, if the fights are close enough, the striking is close enough, it can be competitive. He dropped Martinez, but then again, so did OAM. Martinez is very, very chaotic fighter with not much process or defense. Yeah, it's just I don't want to talk too much about it. I guess you can play the overs here. Stevie Ray's Anthony Pettis wins. They were good favorable matchups. Pettis hates pressure. He can be taken down. OAM can't. So yeah, I think I can't put OAM in any parlays or any of that stuff. Stevie Ray is just, like I said, I think he just does a few things quite a bit worse than OAM. I'd rather just lie bet it, see how we go. But yeah, it's a big dog of pass for me here. Maybe you can play some overs, but no doubt they're going to be juiced the way these two guys fight. Mr. Pepe, he has been a cash cow. Oh, mate, 100%. He's best played as a dog, and now he's a favorite. So let me just check how many times I've played Silva V. I know I played him against that Russian dude from the UFC. What's his name? The guy that looks like James Bond. Oh yeah, I played him against Kachenko, who's a massive underdog. And Rory McDonald is a massive underdog. Who else did I play him against? Actually, that's the only two times I played him. I didn't play him against, he was I can't remember if it was a dog. What was the dog against in the rematch? Oh, he was a dog against Nikolai, but I didn't want to play him there. I felt like Nikolai was way on the way to winning that first fight. And I picked him, I passed against Carlos Leal. He did get very tired against Leal in that fight. But again, Delano Taylor's not going to put the pressure on. So yeah, Silva V has been good to me. I don't know, this fight just freaks me out a bit. Julia Budd versus Aspen Ladd. Oh man, this is a shit show fight. Ladd moving up to lightweight after being cut from the UFC, fighting Julia Budd, who's about to be 40. All right, just lost to Jenna Fabian, absolute mammoth of a woman, 6 foot tall. Yeah, you can't really play Aspen Ladd as a massive favorite. She's proved time and time again that she's not trustworthy in UFC. Aspen Ladd is a cash cow as well, if I may say so, but more of on the fade department. Faded against Norma, faded against Raquel Pennington by decision. Faded against Durandamine. She just comes forward, she plops forward, she's very hittable, not athletic. Wrestling's average, but she does have a couple of takedowns in her. Julia Budd is just no real killer instinct, just has the old boxer size stand up, jabs and the body kicks, doesn't really sit on her punches. Got lucky beating Diana Silva. I faded against Caitlin Young. I thought I was doing great, and then she stole the round one with a takedown, and then Caitlin Young took her down. She was like $1.15 favorite, so I have no regret playing that. Minus 500, it says on Tapology. And then Caitlin Young took her down, which is a big concern, and then obviously Young went for an armbar, got reversed. And then I actually faded against Jenna Fabian as well, so both of these girls, just massive fades for me, and they've been working out. I actually had money on Julia Budd, and then upon retape, I cashed it out. I'm just going to wait to see if it gets any wider, and then I'll kind of sprinkle it. But the way I see it is at least the Ladd is going to keep coming forward. She's more aggressive. She's younger. She will fight for your money more. She's got more grit. Obviously, this is a big step down in competition, right? She's gone from Norma Dumont, who's got good boxing. She's athletic. And, Raquel Pennington, who bites down. She's also aggressive, got a good pop on her punches, good takedown defense. Julia Budd, that, whenever she's standing up, she has very close rounds, and she kind of uses her takedowns put stamps on her rounds, and I don't know if she's going to be able to do that on Lad. I mean, she probably can because Lad has been taken down and she just stands very upright. And obviously, she took down a 6'1" Jana Fabian, which is impressive. But she went hard for that takedown, and she went hard in round 2, and it kind of gassed her out. And then Jana Fabian also missed weight. So she was meant to be 70 kg, but she was even more than 70 kgs. And now Lad is, I don't want to say Lad is moving up 2 weight classes because I feel like she is a natural featherweight. Like she's just missed weight a billion times, right? And Julia Budd is also, featherweight. That's just moved up to lightweight. But I think, Budd cuts from lightweight to featherweight, whereas Aspen Lad just probably minimum cut. This is a big dog or pass. There's just a few things that I don't like about Budd that are putting me off her as a dog, just because she's going to be backing up and might not get some takedowns, and Lad can take her down and do the aggressiveness, and Lad's got the better cardio, and she's going to fight for your money, especially in round 3. But other than that, I'm still close to playing it, man. I'm still close to playing it. It's just, you gotta, one of the big things with Julia Budd is her last few opponents, Caitlin Young and Jenna Fabian, they were good strikers, and they were jabbing her up. And, they could keep it technical. And obviously Jenna Fabian was pressuring her and landing that left hand over and over again. Whereas Lad just brawls. She comes forward, she brawls in the pocket, and she gets hit a lot. She's just aggressive. So, obviously the Jenna Fabian fight making Budd look a lot worse than she is. But yeah, still haven't pulled the trigger. I'm surprised the money is coming in on Lad, so I'm just going to wait, see how it goes. Maybe do it before the weigh-ins. I think after the weigh-ins, people will just put a bit of money on Budd and the line will narrow. But yeah, I feel like I'll play it at some point. Go to distant might be decent. Oh, I don't know, man. Look at these girls' records, decisions everywhere. It's probably going to be juice to the tits, but one can only hope. Also, it's on the main card, this one, so it's potentially just live betted again. I know, like I said, I'm going to be a broken record with all these live bets, but that's what I'm thinking. Ante Delia, Mateus Shuffle. I'm a little bit annoyed with this fight because when Ante Delia was first meant to fight Shuffle, I was looking at potentially fading Ante Delia. What I saw from Shuffle is, yes, he's a bit fragile, a bit chinny, but he's good at working his way back up from takedowns. And then obviously in that fight, Delia completely ran through him. He bit down and just landed a couple of 1-2s and just, obviously, like I said, Shuffle is very fragile and just knocked him out. But then we've seen, against Bruno Capelloza of all people, the Shuffle and Juan Adams, he's got fast hands, and if he doesn't get knocked out or doesn't get dropped, he's not a bad fighter. And he just outstruck Bruno Capelloza for 3 rounds, somehow avoided not getting clipped once. And he was actually clipping Bruno. Bruno's also chinny himself. A lot of chinny, flaky fighters in this PFL division, right? Ante Delia included. And then against Juan Adams, getting taken down multiple times, rounds 2 and 3, but just kept getting up. He's a hard man to hold down. Even Delia couldn't hold him down in round 1. He worked his way up twice. And yeah, if Delia doesn't knock him out, again, if he doesn't bite down and throw his 1-2s and just keeps going for takedowns and keeps getting stuffed, maybe gets a few combinations landed on his noggin. It's a sweaty fight. Delia is not someone that's trustworthy with this line. We've seen him almost lose to Shelton Graves. I thought he was very lucky to win that fight. It was minus 650 favorite. So very lucky, and he's very consistent. Gets run through by Bruno Capelloza in round 1, and then knocks out Chandler Cole. But he has a lot of adversity. Keeps getting reversed by Chandler Cole. He almost beat Bruno, but then as soon as that fight went into rounds 3, 4, 5, Bruno just kept taking him down. He shoots from really far out, unset up shots. So yeah, he's not trustworthy. You can't trust Ante Delia. In that first fight, I played the under 1.5. I just thought either one can knock the other one out. This one, I'm not so sure. It's a 5-rounder. I think there was a bit fluky that Ante Delia knocked him out in that one. So maybe they come out a bit more cautious. But you never know with Ante, man. He's wild, man. He's a wild man. He's not trustworthy either. I did bet him against Renan Ferreira, but that was more so he was a slight dog. I saw on tape that he would go for takedowns ASAP, and I just thought if he gets Ferreira on the bottom, Ferreira's going to flake. And the way he fought against Clayton in this last one, When someone fights bad in the first fight in the season, they don't have much time before they turn around. They fight every 2 months or so. Yeah, Hennon's been a disappointment this season. So yeah, cash in there. But yeah, this one, I'm just gonna leave this one and watch it. I'm not gonna say it, but I'm thinking it might be a good live bet as well. Rounds 2 or 3. I still favour round 2 Lucia just because of the fragility of Matthews. But yeah, I think he'll fight for your money, Ante. I think he can get takedowns even late. I don't think Mateo's takedown defense is as good as Capelloza, for example, but he's just going to keep working his way up. I think this could become a very sloppy fight in the late rounds if he makes it there. Now let's move on. No bets at the moment, unfortunately. It's just the closest bets I have so far are Marlon Moraes. And I was going to bet Sedavisu, but now the line's even worse. So, all right, Brendan Loughlin, Bubba Jenkins, probably one of the better fights on this card. I thought I was gonna like Brendan. Obviously, we know about Bubba's prone to gassing. I think he can be a bit overrated. The gassing issues. Brendan, yeah, the line is now steamed. Brendan's looked awful this PFL season, and then he just comes out with his best performance against Chris Wade. Big regret not playing him there. I had this deep down feeling that we're getting a buy low spot on him, and he was a good, in London, he was a good player to have, and obviously he looked amazing. So I passed there, but a little bit annoyed. But other than that, like if you go back, knocked out Shimon Moraes, even in his older fights against Matt Baggy, he fights with his hands low. He likes to use good distance management, calf kicks, but he's a little bit nonchalant. He's very patient, right? He likes to warm up into the fight, and he's got good power, but he's not really aggressive until later in the fight. So the Tyler Diamond fight, he was kicking the shit out of Tyler Diamond, and then he started to get taken down in rounds 2 and 3, which is a bit of a red flag. Movlid Kabulaev, I bet him there as a decent sized dog. He easily could have won that fight. He just decided to sit on his back for all of round 1, not look to get up whatsoever. I guess he was playing the aspect of landing punches from the bottom, which, he almost won the fight. One judge gave him the fight, which obviously it had to be from just landing punches from his back in round 1, which we've seen people do before. But yeah, very winnable fight, right? Movlid, very low output on the feet and just hugs onto you. So could have won that. Then you see he came back, apparently he was doing a lot of wrestling in Dagestan, came back with 2 knee braces against Ryoji Kudo. Just looked awful, looked very slow. He got dropped by Kudo, and when he stood up, he was just live to get dropped again. He kept getting cracked, hands were low, couldn't get his distance. Started to wrestle. I actually live bet him in round 2 when I thought he just eked that round out as an underdog, and then he was doing okay in round 3, and then the headbutt, which gave him the fight. So a lot of people were salty. They thought Kudo deserved it, but it was 1-1 going into the third. I'm not just saying that as a biased opinion. I live bet it because I thought it was 1-1. Argo Huskic, he should have destroyed him. He obviously, Argo closed at some point early in round 1, and then he had to wrestle there as well. So he did what he needed to do. In a lot of these PFL seasons, you just have to win, just make it to the final, and then your most important performance is the final. And against Chris Wade, he just came out, stuffed all of Chris Wade's takedowns. Chris Wade's not the best wrestler. He's a really good scrambler, really good jiu-jitsu fighter. He's tough, but just to get Brendan down, you have to be like a good solid wrestler, like classical wrestler. And I see a lot of people, using MMA maths. Bubba Jenkins lost to old mate Chris Wade, and Brendan kicked the shit out of Chris Wade. It's easy money and 5-rounder, but it's not that simple, man. It's I've seen a lot of improvement from Bubba this season. He came back. A lot of people looking to fade him with Karl Bochniak of all people, because Bochniak keeps coming forward, and he's got cardio, and just Bubba kicked the shit out of him for 3 rounds with stand up. His eyes closed in that fight as well, somehow in some exchange, but he won that fight as well. Ronaldo Exton, he was a bit more patient. Exton's not amazing, but 18-5, decent fighter. Hits hard. He was patient and used takedowns in all 3 rounds to just get a unanimous decision. And then against Kudo, which Kudo came off that big KO and did quite well against Brendan. He just rear naked choked him in the first round, just ran through him. So he seems to be a lot more measured, right? He used to wrestle and gas himself out, and now he's a lot more measured. He's comfortable mixing his wrestling with his stand up, and because Brendan Lachlan doesn't really push the pace, and it's a 5-rounder, I can see him, giving up rounds. If Bubba is smart, he can strike, mix in takedowns at the right time, consolidate the round 2, 1, 3. Brendan doesn't push the pace. He won't gas out, and then it just becomes, who wins the rounds 4 and 5, something like that. Obviously, Brendan can drop him at any point. He's technically he's the much better striker, but Bubba's athletic. Bubba hits hard. He's a southpaw as well. So it's a dog or pass for me. Surprisingly, this out of all the live bet fights I'm going to be banging on about, this is probably my favorite. I just think it's you can see how it plays out. You can pay attention to Bubba's gas tank. You can see how Brendan looks. And as I was saying with that Wade fight, Wade didn't really. I mean, you can say he had wrestled Jenkins, but he was threatening with a lot of guillotines and front chokes, which is why Bubba he was in on his hips, but he had to abandon, had to roll out, and that's how he ended up on top. Like I said, Wade is a good scrambler, a good jiu-jitsu fighter. Brendan doesn't do that. Brendan will just look to stand up, push your head down, and look to work his way up. But Jenkins hard to shake off. He'll jump on your back and he'll just grind you and hold on to your back for 5 minutes. So dog or pass for me. I can see this going over. Maybe the go the distance on this will be good. There might be, as much as they're scary, there might be some good go the distance plays on these 5-rounders. So something to look at when they come out. But yeah, dog or pass at the moment. I am leaning Brendan. It just depends how they come out. And the main event, people's main event, the fight that everyone's clamoring to see. After the second one, all the fans are saying, let's see it one more time. I need to see this fight for the third time. Obviously, I'm talking crap. We've seen this fight too many times now. 8 rounds worth of fighting. Pacheco's probably stuffed 2 takedowns. I think Kayla Harrison still wins. She's just too good. She's aggressive. She's got good double legs. She's got good judo throws. She's durable. I've seen her eat some shots from Pacheco. She didn't really get wobbled or dropped. The only stuff that I've seen from Pacheco that she did good, she had Kayla Harrison's back in the first fight, in like the second round, I think. And Kayla Harrison got on top. So she's not really a flake. She's a good fighter. She's not flaky. I can't really see a weakness that Pacheco can exploit. Obviously, Harrison, like I said, good submission defense herself, great wrestling. Whenever she starts losing, she gets Pacheco down and she puts her against the cage. I can't fault anyone for hitting Pacheco, right? She's 28. Their last fought at 26. She seems to be a lot more aggressive, filling into her body. She's got a lot of experience. Larissa, she's been in the UFC. She's been everywhere. She's still improving, no doubt. She's still growing into her body, becoming more and more of a natural lightweight as time goes on. Like the way she ran through Jenna Fabian was impressive. She wobbled her on the feet. She hurt her on the feet and then took her down and finished her on the ground. That was probably her best opponent other than Kayla Harrison. Like she'd been fighting a lot of bums like Yulia Page, Kolesnik, the Kazakhstan chick. They're all just bums. Obviously Sarah Kaufman was a good one. So running through Jenna Fabian, a 6 foot kickboxer, it's very impressive. But yeah, it's just the only play I'm kind of interested in this one is the over. Hopefully we get an over as good as the Pitbull Usman Nurmagomedov fight. Something tells me we won't, because we've seen this fight twice already and it's gone 3 rounds and 5 rounds. Could be another good live bet spot. We've seen in rounds 5 Kayla Harrison get pretty much all her takedowns stuffed and ended up in almost the guillotine by Pacheco when she got tired. So if Pacheco puts a bit more of a resistance, Harrison can probably gas out maybe a bit sooner. She's 32 now, a bit older, 2 years older now. But we'll see. It's still an interesting fight. It's her best challenge. So I look at the overs, over 1.5 for juiced. I might just bite the bullet, play over 2.5. I think the longer it goes, the less chance of finishing from both girls. I think Pacheco is the most dangerous early, and I think Kayla Harrison is the most dangerous early. So yeah, I'll look at some overs here. But that's pretty much it. No money line bets locked in at the moment. Let's have a look at some comments. People are equating Chris Wade's wrestling to Bubba's because of their fight, but Chris Wade was beating Bubba with jits and chokes. That's it, mate. Agree, we're on the same page. Lachlan Wade fight doesn't mean Lachlan will defend everything from Bubba. Yeah, I think Bubba's a way better wrestler, man. I think he's an elite wrestler. And also Chris Wade, striking is trash. He fights with his hands low and just spams kicks, body kicks, high kicks, leg kicks. He's live. He's absolutely live for Brendan to just counter him all day, which he did. He was just jabbing his ass off. I think Bubba just stays a lot more safe. He's got a nice southpaw guard. He's got a nice jab himself. Like I said, I've seen a lot of improvements from Bubba. He's getting a bit underestimated here. This is not in London. It's back on neutral territory. So yeah, I think I still favour him, but the line is a bit wide. All right, so it's in New York. All right, so we might see some shit show decisions. So no bets at the moment, but let's see what we can muster up here. Quick overview. Pass on these first two prelims. Gleason, TBell, Mago, Sharipov. Yeah, it's TBell pass. Probably pass for me. Natan Schulte, got to retake this. Maybe the under could be a good spot there. I'll look at that. Moraes over Shimon or pass. If you have unders, you can't go wrong. I think both these guys are live. Spark the other one. I think Moraes is going to look good. Back on the juice and upper featherweight, not draining himself. That could be why his cardio and chin is so bad. Omari Meno, Wilkinson, tough fight. It's Omari a pass for me, but Rob Wilkinson could be the real deal. It's just tough fight. He can match his physicality. Sadabusi, Delano Taylor, I got C, maybe playing by decision. Again, another tough fight. I can see it, not much value in it. I can see Delano rising up to the plate. Stevie Ray, OAM, horrible line. It's Ray or pass. Julia Budd, this is probably the closest I've been to a play. I actually had Julia, but I cashed her out. I'm just going to wait to see where the line goes. If it gets any more juicier, I will be forced to make a play. Or Julia Budd by decision, maybe. Ante Delia, Matthews, just pass. What can you play there? Maybe the under. Jenkins will pass. And the over in the main event. So the one thing that I'm definitely going to play is the over in the main event. Hopefully it's good money. The over in the main event. I was close to playing C, but I can't do it. And yeah, hopefully some props are good when the props open up, some go the distance. I like overs in a lot of these. All right, Sadabusi over, OAM is going to be juiced, so don't worry about that. Brendan Lachlan, Bubba Jenkins over, and the main event over. So yeah, if we get burnt, we get burnt, but I don't anticipate a lot of finishes. Other than that, that's it. Not too much, but it's a good card in terms of viewing pleasure, so it's going to be some good fights at least. But betting at the moment, I am confident that we're going to get some good live bets. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Give the video some traffic. It means a lot. Other than that, you'll most likely see me in Scrap next week for first card of December UFC. Good luck to all your bets, and thanks for tuning in.